economy is very closely integrated to the rest of the world, and that is one of the reasons why we have struggled post the recession in early 29 to grow by more than 3%. Because our exports have underperformed because of very weak demand in America, especially in the Eurozone countries. Japan is now weakening, and China has also slowed down because, many of the emerging economies' growth models are basically built on exports. Now, with exports faltering because of weak demand, it means you have to stimulate domestic demand. And that then is one of the reasons why South African interest rates have been reduced quite aggressively. Our repo rate now, as you know, is 5.5%. So going forward, if we look at the dynamics that we expect for the South African economy in 2013, there's also a lot of political uncertainty which leads to economic uncertainty. This year, we've downgraded growth forecasts. In the beginning of the year, we thought the economy would grow by about 3.2%. Now it's likely to grow by 2.5% if we're lucky. This time last year, we thought that the economy in 2013 can grow by about 4%. Now growth forecasts have also been revised lower to 3%. Now, part of that, of course, is the global economy that has not performed as well. The headwinds from deleveraging, consumers reducing debt has actually been tougher. Then we've also seen the fiscal austerity in peripheral Europe that's now spilling over to core Europe. We've seen Europe spilling over to China that impacted on their exports. So, that impacted on South Africa as well. So our companies, especially our manufacturing sector, is struggling. So that basically means our economy needs to be driven by domestic demand, consumer spending, and fixed investment by the private sector and the state-owned enterprises. So far, the state-owned enterprises, you've basically seen only Eskom and Transnet, and to some extent Sunrol undertaking fixed investment. We need much firmer growth in that area. Private sector started to pick up a bit, and then all the international uncertainty and some of the domestic dynamics like the industrial strife has started to impact. So private sector fixed investment is unlikely to be a big driver of growth. So that basically leaves the consumer. So what that means for interest rates on the Reserve Bank side, in our view, is that they will remain on hold. We sit with the unfortunate balance of softer growth and potentially high inflation in the next year. But we know that they've got a flexible mandate where a greater weight is attributed to growth. So with inflation crawling a bit higher, they're unlikely to cut, but they're also unlikely to hike, which could happen if you had a strong inflation mandate because of the growth dynamics. So we then think that interest rates would move sideways well into 2013, perhaps even as far out as 2014.